potentially deadly ether. Good doesn't believe in twilight sleep. O'Brien applies the ether. Rose's water breaks, but by 2 o'clock it is evident that the baby is turned the wrong way in the womb. Gripping the Good forceps, on which he holds the patent, Frederick Good reaches in and turns the baby around. A little after 3 p.m., it emerges. Once the cord has been cut, the nurse wraps it gently in an embroidered blanket and places it in the bassinet beside the bed. Rose is still unconscious, but she has prepared for this moment. She has tied a rosary to the bassinet. And there he lies, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, curled up like a small pink question mark in a sunny upstairs room that smells of blood, hot kettles, and ether. Joe Kennedy's father, Patrick J. Kennedy, was, as photographs of him in late middle age show, a large, square-built man with rimless spectacles, a huge walrus mustache, and a mild gaze. He was prosperous, and he looked it, and all that he possessed was his own creation. Born in Boston in 1858 to a pair of impoverished Irish immigrants, P.J. had begun with nothing but the riches of a mother's love. His father had died before he could even walk or talk. His mother, Bridget, worked as a clerk, then as a hairdresser, and eventually became co-owner of a small notions shop. While she eked out a living for her family, her 3 daughters stayed at home and looked after P.J. At 14, he was deemed old enough to go to work and found employment as a packer at the docks. Living thriftily and saving diligently, after a time he had enough money to open a saloon. He proved to have a flair for the business, because within a few years he had opened 2 more saloons and become a wholesale liquor dealer. Bars were as integral to the political scene of post-Civil War Boston as personation, and almost any man who voted right deserved a free beer, or maybe several free beers come polling day. Alcohol and politics, each seemed almost an extension of the other. The saloon was the working man's club, where politics were debated and ward bosses held court. For P.J., it was but a short lateral step from alehouse to statehouse. In 1885, he was elected to the State Assembly, and 3 years later he and his wife had a son, Joseph Patrick Kennedy, born in September 1888 at the family's large and comfortable townhouse on Meridian Street in East Boston. After 6 years as an assemblyman, P.J. was elected to the state senate. Meanwhile, his liquor interests were paying off so handsomely that in 1895 he and a friend founded a bank, the Columbia Trust Company, with capital of $130,000. And as befitted a banker, he bought a mansion, one that overlooked the inner harbor and provided handsome views across the water of Boston's financial district. It was here that Joe Kennedy grew up, in a rich man's house with a coterie of servants, and among the privileges he enjoyed was an insider's awareness of how the city's political and business life was run. Naturally enough, P.J. brought up his son according to the light of his own experience. Life, he taught him, was struggle. Always come first. Second place is failure, he said. In those early years, Joe Kennedy's competitiveness was expressed as a ferocious work ethic. As an adolescent, he sold newspapers, candy, and peanuts down at the docks. He lighted coal fires on Saturdays for Orthodox Jews and ran errands at Columbia Trust on his vacations. To broaden his horizons and improve his life prospects, his parents took him out of the Catholic school system and enrolled him, at age 13, at the Boston Latin School, one of the most prestigious public schools in the country. Academic standards at his new school were dauntingly high, and here was one competition that Joe Kennedy could never win. He was quick-witted rather than intellectual, often astute, but never profound. When he graduated from Boston Latin in 1908, Joe Kennedy stood 5 feet 10 inches tall, a good-looking youngster with blue eyes, pale, freckled skin, and red hair. He didn't smoke, drink, tell blue jokes, gamble, or drink coffee. His preferred beverage was milk, and he had but 2 goals in life: to be a college athlete and to make a lot of money. He applied for Harvard not because he possessed either scholarship